everyone, welcome to a new episode of Abroad. There's a little less of me right now. I got a haircut. Anyway, this is going to be the last Ireland episode, and I hope that you've enjoyed your trip to Ireland. Like I said, I'm going to be back there in September, and so there'll be a lot more, and there'll be some Facebook Live stuff too. Anyway, so this last trip, as you can see, we leave Galway, go back to Dublin, because everything is Dublin, and then we go up the coast, and we were going to a place called Newgrange, and we stayed in this little town called Drogheda. Anyway, like I said, they say stuff differently than we do. They have weird names in Ireland. We had got this wonderful Air BandB at Arthur's, halfway between Dublin and Belfast. So it was really just a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, it was right there. It was such a cool place. It was like a manor house. And he and his wife, I mean, they lived in it, and it had been in this family forever. And it was like staying at the most exclusive bed and breakfast. And it was an Airbnb, and for some reason that night, I guess the train travel it was just too much. And she went to bed really early, and it was really comfortable. So she went to bed, and I was up, So I just went downstairs and started wandering around. I didn't know what I was doing. We were the only guests there. And I went wandering around, and I heard voices, and I went into the dining room where Arthur and his wife, they were getting ready to eat dinner, and they offered me a glass of wine, and okay, so I got a nice glass of wine. I sat down at the table. She was finishing up whatever it is that she was cooking. I think it was some kind of stew, I think. And she looks at me, she goes, "Have you had dinner?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Would you like some?" And I said, "Yes." I'm not going to turn down food. Do I look like a person who turns down food? Anyway, so she dished me up a big bowl, and her a big bowl, and the three of us sat there and drank our wine and ate this incredible Irish stew, and just had a great time talking about how crazy things are in America. Because I'm telling you, people overseas, Newgrange is a Stone Age monument in the Boyne Valley in the County Meath, Ireland, and it was built about 3200 BC during the Neolithic period, for those of you who believe in science, which makes it older than Stonehenge, and it's older than the Egyptian pyramids. So it's a large circular mound, you can see that, with this stone passageway, and there's these chambers inside. And the mound is ringed by these things called curbstones that are engraved with artwork. And we go into this chamber, and it was very, very claustrophobic for me. And I get claustrophobia. So they said, if you're claustrophobic, go in last, be in the group, and then you can leave. And so I was the last in the group. And I was, it's very small. But then you get into this chamber, and it opens up. And if you look straight up, there is, above the door, there's this opening, there's a slit, and apparently on winter solstice, the sun comes right in that and illuminates the whole chamber. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of the first Indiana Jones movie, where, he had that staff on the map, and it had to hit through the crystal, and then it would point to where they were supposed to go to dig. And I thought that was very cool, because it's taken from real archaeology. But you can actually go there for winter solstice, but you have to put your name on a list years in advance. And the thing that I was most interested in was the art, these curbstones, and this big one that's right in the front said it was like 10 feet long and 4 feet high, and it weighs 5 tons. And it has this very distinctive patterns in it. And at the gift shop at Newgrange, you can buy like things that have that symbol on it. And we think that we're at the height of, scientific inquiry, and, nobody knew anything before we came along. Good old European Western, we don't know. There's so much about the earth that we don't know. And it kind of makes me a little crazy to think that we might be burning it up. There have been so many people that came before us that knew stuff and that discovered stuff before we ever showed up, and that our science is basically on the shoulders of these ancient astronomers and these ancient, architects, and it puts you in the right size. You become like, oh, okay, not the center of the universe, not now, not ever. Then it was time for us to go to Belfast. Well, maybe I should have done a little bit more sleeping, because I got sick in Belfast. I got a very terrible cold. And we got to our Air BandB, which is, it was nice. It was a whole place that we got to have. It had 2 bedrooms and all that, but it had no heat. The heat was not working. And the woman who owns it, we got a hold of her and said, there's no heat. It's pretty cold. Finally, the woman's just like, well, I guess I have to come over there. She says, I've been at work all day, but I guess I'll do that. Turn on, I'll show you how to turn the heat on, since nobody seems to know. Well, she comes over. She's not a happy person. And we're sitting there like, this is bullshit, I was very close to saying, like, just kind of give us our money back and we'll go to a hotel. But it was really late, and it was a Friday night, and anyway. Well, she couldn't get it to work either. She tried all of the things that, she thought we should have done and she thought her neighbor should have done. And it turned out to be something completely different that none of us would have been able to figure out. She blamed it on the last tenants. She said, oh, they must have done this, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we were not thrilled with this woman. I eventually got myself out of bed. I think it was the second morning. Anyway, and got on a bus and just made it right downtown to the main square, where I got off the bus and did the 2 things I needed to do, which was get money out of an ATM and have some food. And I went to this incredibly cute restaurant. Here it is. It was called La Parisienne, and it was wonderful and very Paris, and little Paris and Belfast. And the next morning we got up, and it was time for us to go to another country, Scotland this time. So we had bought this great ticket, and it took us a bus from Belfast to the Stena Line place, where we got on this incredible cruise ship thing. And it was so funny because it was full of kids that it was like superhero day or something, and there were all these kids in superhero costumes, and that was really fun. Now, I usually get really seasick, even on big boats like this, and like cruise ships, I've gotten seasick. So, I went straight for the middle of the ship. I was a little nervous I was going to get seasick, which I didn't think would be really fun because we had a full day of travel. But it was great. I don't know if we had a good sea that day or something, but anyway, personal. Okay, thank you. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, tell your friends. There's this crazy lady that's telling a little bit about these different places she's been. And I'll see you in Scotland.